What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you guys through my first initial wildcard draft leading up to the upcoming Game Week 8. So yes, the wildcard chip has been activated, so no clickbait, at least for Game Week 8, so you guys don't have to worry about that. But in this specific video, I'll be taking you guys firstly through some international break talking points, a lot to kind of go over and contemplate with this upcoming international break. So I'll be going through what you guys should be watching out for and at least the next 2 weeks. And then we'll be moving on to my current team selection, just in terms of the wildcard price rises and price drops. As you guys know, on a wildcard, first priority is to get those price rises and avoid those price drops to kind of boost your team value up as much as possible. And then finally, I'll be going over my current initial draft for the wildcard, and I think that it does look quite nice. Just kind of talking about the international break these next 2 weeks, I would also appreciate your guys' feedback in the comments down below, just suggesting videos that you guys want to see. I thought maybe in this first week of the international break, kind of just doing a whole bunch of wildcard drafts, big at the back drafts, going for 3 premiums, just kind of getting the creative juices flowing so that when we do have to get that final draft in, at least we've considered all the options. But you guys can let me know what videos you guys want me to produce. Next week, obviously, will be more structured, going over the kind of ultimate guide, top 1000 team selection, that sort of thing. Also thought of maybe creating a best predicted wildcard draft, at least for the upcoming 6 game weeks. But you guys can let me know in the comments down below. As always, I do always appreciate your guys' feedback. But now getting onto this video specifically, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So just going over the international break, we will be having this break over the next 2 weeks. So a lot of kind of time to contemplate our wildcard, but unfortunately I wouldn't do too much kind of finalization over these opening couple of days because there's a lot of fixtures still to take place in terms of the internationals. So as always, I'll just remind you guys to please watch out for the usual injury news, the playing time and that sort of thing. I don't think too much kind of focus has to be on this specific week. I think next week will be of utmost importance. So you guys can take a break from FPL, maybe just ride the price rises, avoid the price drops for this week, and then next week you can come back, get that mind kind of working again in terms of FPL. But the thing I wanted to talk to you guys about in terms of playing time and in terms of fixtures that are going to happen next week are going to be the North and South American qualifiers for the FIFA World Cup. And the reason why I want to talk about these fixtures in particular is due to kind of time differences. These fixtures are played quite soon to Game Week 8's deadline. So if you look at these fixtures and the player that you currently own only plays on a Sunday or Monday, I wouldn't be too worried about that. I think that's a kind of adequate time to prepare for the Premier League game. But the Saturday fixtures are kind of where the problems do lie. And as you can see, I've highlighted the Thursday and the Friday fixtures, and these fixtures are being played in the early hours of the morning. So in terms of the times that you guys are seeing, that's going to be my local time, South African Standard Time, which I do believe is 1 hour ahead of the UK time. So you guys can just minus 1 hour from that, and that would be the times that the teams do kick off on that respective day. But you can see there, the early hours of Thursday morning and the early hours of Friday morning. And when you kind of correlate this to the Saturday games, I guess a Thursday game is still fine. So a player like an Antonio for Jamaica, a player like a Raul Jimenez for Mexico, those players should be particularly fine. But in terms of the Friday morning fixtures, I guess the team to focus on is going to be Brazil. A player that springs to mind is going to be a Rafinha for Leeds, a very popular kind of FPL option at the current moment. A player like a Gabriel Jesus and Edison and Alisson, those players aren't too popular. So I think Rafinha is probably going to be the one that you guys do focus on. But a newspaper article did come out today and say that Leeds are kind of preparing for Rafinha and they are expecting him to feature on Saturday against Southampton away. So I'm not really trying to scare you guys away from options here. I want to just put these thoughts in the back of your mind so when the time does arise, you do remember that these players could potentially be missing Game Week 8, but I'm holding thumbs and I am expecting most of them to feature for the respective Premier League teams. So just watch out for injury news as well as this kind of playing time and late playing time, and you guys will be perfectly fine going into that Game Week 8 wildcard. So now going on to my current team selection, and this is going to be the team that is focused on the price rises and the price changes. And the reason why I wanted to show you guys this team is no, I'm not going to be going through this team selection. I'm only going to be covering one team selection. That's going to be my current initial wildcard draft. So don't worry, I'm not going to kind of overload you guys with information. But the reason I wanted to show you guys this talking point is just to remind you guys that please, if you are on a wildcard, one of the most important factors of a wildcard is the week leading up to that. And the reason for that is going to be the price rises and the price drops. And as I mentioned in the introduction and the other talking points, you got to ride the price rises and avoid the price drops. So you guys can use whatever website you require. I use Fantasy Football Fix for my predictions on price rises, as not too many websites actually do predictions for price rises. So at least that's the website I've used for the last couple of years that I have been playing FPL. So that's the website that I can recommend to you guys, but there are some other websites that do price rises as well. But I also wanted to tell you guys that please check the comments down below and the description of my upcoming videos throughout the week to get the most up-to-date team selection as possible. And the reason why I'm saying this is that in my upcoming videos, I won't be kind of highlighting a specific team in that video because I might have to pre-record videos. You guys know, due to my schedule, I sometimes have to pre-record videos the previous night. So in terms of price rises, price drops, those are super kind of changing per hour. So kind of pre-recording that would not be useful to you guys. In this specific video, you guys don't have to worry. I'm recording this after work on Monday, so you guys will be getting the most up-to-date kind of price rises as of the 4th of October, so please remember that. So in terms of the price rises tonight, I'm expecting a player like a Townsend. We also have a Huang who might rise in price, and there are some other options in and around there. But if you guys do want to make the most out of these price rises, just copy this team, and then you should be waking up tomorrow morning slightly richer in terms of your FPL team. As I said, the wildcard is actually active. I did activate it on Saturday evening. So if you guys haven't really followed me on Twitter, you wouldn't have seen that. So you might have missed out on a couple of price rises. So don't worry about that. You'll be able to catch them up in these next couple of days. Also on this talking point, kind of talking about the prices of players, I also wanted to mention to you guys that we might have different selling values in terms of our FPL teams. So when you guys do see my initial wildcard draft and you can't afford it, don't drop it down in the comments below. I do know that we have different selling values, but I would always recommend some options to you guys that you can downgrade if you can't afford my team. If you can afford my team with some money to spend, I'll probably tell you guys some upgrades as well. So in these kind of draft videos, I'll be covering every single scenario, so you guys don't have to worry about that. But now going on to my actual Game Week 8 initial wildcard draft, I've gone for a lovely 4-4-2 formation, or at least it's a little bit of a modular formation. This one, it can change from a 4-3-3, 4-4-2, can even go 3 at the back if you guys don't really favor a Man City or a Chelsea defender that specific game week. But in terms of the bench, that's where I'm going to start because that's a very good place to start on a draft, and it's also a nice little indication for me to talk to you about the value I did have in my bank. So currently, I have 0.1 million in my bank, and the reason I only have 0.1 is that I had to unfortunately downgrade Livramento to Manquillo because I couldn't afford this draft without doing that move. So if you guys do have an extra 0.1, or at least I hope to gain an extra 0.1 over these price rises in the upcoming 2 weeks, the upgrade that I would do is Manquillo out for Livramento. And the reason for that is I don't really trust the Newcastle defense, trust the Southampton defense slightly more, and I do think that Livramento is slightly more nailed than Manquillo is. In terms of the rest of the bench, we do have Ben Foster from Watford, started the game against Leeds this weekend, so it does look like he's slightly nailed. I don't really know what the current situation with Bachmann is, if he's actually back from that injury or not, but if he was back and Foster did end up playing, it does lead you to maybe think that Ben Foster has currently got the position between the sticks. Going on to our next two players on the bench, we have Huang from Wolves, a really good performance in game week 7. So yes, I might be chasing points slightly here, but at 5.5 million, I just need him to kind of start every other game week and maybe get some returns, and that'll probably justify his price point. With Huang, I don't really know if he's currently nailed. I do expect him to be after these kind of good performances over these last 2 game weeks. And in terms of Raul Jimenez versus Huang, I just kind of am going for the cheaper option because I needed the money in and around my team. And in terms of Huang, can he cover Jimenez or can Jimenez cover Huang? Who kind of knows? I do still think that Wolves have some nice fixtures coming up, so that's why I did want some Wolves coverage, because although they haven't been scoring that many goals, they have been getting some good attacking stats, and that's why I think a little bit of Wolves coverage is perfectly fine. Nice little boring option in terms of the midfield budget enabler. We've got Brownhill at 4.4. The only thing about Brownhill that you guys must watch out for is the current yellow card suspension. So if memory serves me right, I did see that he's currently on about 3 or 4 yellow cards. And I think if you do pick up 5 before game week 19, you are suspended for one specific game week. So that is a little bit of annoyance there. But in terms of him, 4.4 million, I would have liked an extra 0.1 to upgrade him to Douglas Luiz. But unfortunately, we couldn't afford this team anyway. So that's why Brownhill, we needed that extra 0.1 in the first place. I do actually have 0.1 million in my bank, but I would rather upgrade Livramento than Brownhill just because I think the kind of ceiling is a little bit higher on the Southampton defenders side of things. But now going on to our starting 11, and I was really excited when I created this draft because you guys know how it is if you've played FPL in the past. A wildcard is such a nice fresh experience and it allows you to change your entire team, and I won't lie, we did have some dead wood in the team at the moment, so I was really happy to get some new fresh players that have some great fixtures coming up. Starting off in goal, this is probably the biggest kind of controversial decision this week is going to be what keeper you guys do go for. For me, it was between Sanchez and Ramsdale, but my current thinking on the goalkeeper scenario is yes, Sanchez doesn't have the best fixtures, at least in the short term, but in terms of my 4.5 goalkeeper, I'm not going to transfer them out anyways. So this transfer will be kind of a medium long-term move, and in terms of the upcoming fixtures, Brighton's fixtures don't look that bad in terms of the long term, and that's why I'm going for them. I think that Sanchez, I rather trust the Brighton defense over the Arsenal defense, but I could always switch out going for Ramsdale because I don't think there's going to be too much between these two. I just am still a little bit worried about Ramsdale, though he does look nailed in the short term. I do think Sanchez has less competition, as with Ramsdale, he does have a Leno in kind of the wings in and around him, whereas with Sanchez, not too much competition in around that goalkeeper position. That's why I think that I would rather go with the Brighton defense than the Arsenal defense. But then I guess you can classify this wildcard draft as a kind of big at the back inverted commas draft because we have gone for quite a large premium defenders at the back with a 4 consisting of 2 Man City and 2 Chelsea options. I just think at that price point, these defenders prove really good value for money, and with these upcoming fixtures for Chelsea and Man City, I can honestly see a couple clean sheets and hopefully some attacking returns to boot. I'm going to start off with the Man City kind of double up because it's the more expensive option. It's going to be Diaz and Cancelo. Now, after this week against Liverpool, I don't think Cancelo had the best game as well as Diaz, but I think that was a very attacking game, to be honest. So I don't think either kind of defense put too much praise to themselves. So in terms of Diaz, Cancelo, although that game didn't go to plan, I do think with these upcoming fixtures, they almost do look as guaranteed clean sheets. Those are really famous last words, but I mean, Man City at home to Burnley should definitely be a clean sheet and will probably have relatively high clean sheet odds. And I mean, with Diaz and Cancelo, can always offer that attacking threat going forward off those set pieces or just general kind of open play, and that's how I really do think I favor these two. The Man City defense is also super solid over this Premier League season, and that's why I think these two are going to rack up the points, and at their price point, as I said, great value for money. Now going on to Rudiger and Azpilicueta, and unfortunately with kind of all these 4 defenders, there might be some rotation risk with them, but I'm just hoping that because these 4 are the more outstanding defenders for their respective teams, they will be slightly more nailed than the others. Chelsea's defense is equally as good as Man City's over this Premier League season, so that's why I think going for some of their options over this lovely run of fixtures, all I ask you guys to do is go over to the Premier League site, just click on whatever Chelsea option you have, and just look over those upcoming fixtures they have. Great fixtures, and I think from a defensive point of view and attacking point of view, they're going to yield quite a few points. So I know what you guys are probably thinking, where's Trent Alexander-Arnold? But I based this initial draft purely on players that are currently fit, as at least then, if those players don't recover from their injuries, we don't have to chop and change the squad too much, and we can simply go with what we had at first. Now going on to our midfield department, and I have gone for some more premium and then also some cheaper options. Going to start off with the cheapest option on my midfield. Is going to be Smith Rowe from Arsenal. Great option. I think at that price point looks to be getting into great positions from an attacking point of view, and Arsenal seem to have picked up a little bit of form, and I think Smith Rowe over the next couple game weeks should hopefully provide us some nice points. At 5.3 though, not too much risk at all, just has to kind of return once in a while and I'll be perfectly happy. The next cheapest midfielder is going to be Rafinha, a mainstay in my wildcard team, and I definitely would go for the Leeds midfielder as he looks to be in good form. Although he didn't get any points in game week 7, his stats still look quite strong. The only annoying thing about him is that he plays super well, but from an FPL point of view doesn't always get the returns, and that's why if Bamford was fit, I would probably prefer the forward to the midfielder. We spoke about Rafinha with this international break kind of concern, so just keep your guys' eyes on that. But as I mentioned, there was a news report today about the Leeds midfielder, and they said that he is expected to play against Southampton away. Mo Salah, our most expensive midfielder, but I don't think there'll be any kind of concerns about him. No kind of roasting in the comments down below, because if you are going to talk about an essential FPL option at the moment, it's going to be the Egyptian winger, as he looks to be, if not the best player, one of the best players in the world at the current moment. Great performance against Man City, and if that just shows you that he's one of the more fixture-proof players, I don't know what will, because he just looks like he's on great form right now, and Liverpool do look quite hungry to get those wins. So Mo Salah not going anywhere, probably will be our captain going into the game week 8. I know, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. The early kickoff captaincy is happening once again, but I do think Mo Salah will potentially break that curse. But But now going on to our differential in the midfield, and it's going to be Heung-min Son from Spurs. Now Spurs' fixtures after game week 8, I think game week 9, 10 and 11 don't look like the best fixtures in the world, but definitely not the worst. I don't think they face Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool for example. I think it's more of the general kind of 4 rated fixtures. But up next in game week 8, it's Newcastle at home, which I think that Spurs can do quite well in, and that's why I'm kind of hoping that Heung-min Son, if I do bring him in, could even be a differential captain if you guys do want to go for him. So I guess the easiest kind of downgrade that you guys can do is downgrading Heung-min Son to another option. I think if Trent Alexander-Arnold is back fit, that's probably what we're going to be doing. We're going to downgrade Heung-min Son and then upgrade one of our other defenders to Trent, because I just think Trent is also, like Salah, one of the more essential options to get. But I do really like having Heung-min Son. I think on a wildcard, you got to take at least 1 or 2 punts, and the South Korean is definitely going to be a punt for game week 8. Now going on to our front line, and it's probably the most undisputed front line that you guys can get currently in your FPL team, except for maybe Hwang from Wolves. It's going to be Antonio and then also Romelu Lukaku from Chelsea. So we spoke about those Chelsea fixtures, how lovely they look over these next couple game weeks when you spoke about the defenders, but that's equally the same for the attack. Now Romelu Lukaku will be one of the best captaincy options to go for in these next couple game weeks. That's why I think he's one of the most essential players to get on your wildcard drafts. Now, I know that we have downgraded CR7 to afford him, but I think that's a justified move considering that we won't captain Ronaldo over these next couple game weeks, whereas with the Chelsea attacker, we might. Antonio is the only kind of hard decision that I currently have on my initial wildcard draft, and the reason for that is that West Ham haven't looked that strong as they did in the opening couple game weeks, and also West Ham have a little bit of a dip of fixtures in terms of the ratings for the foreseeable future. So that's why I don't really know what to do with Antonio. He has managed to stay fit, which is a real plus, which maybe shows that he's going to be fit for the next couple of game weeks. And I guess that's the only thing you kind of worry about with Antonio, is if he does get injured or not. So if he is not injured, we should definitely have him on FPL teams. I just maybe think that there might be other options from a forward department. And if Bamford is fit for game week 8, I probably will downgrade Antonio to the English forward. So let me know what you think of this wildcard draft. As I mentioned, my initial draft, I'm going to hopefully be creating a lot of drafts throughout this week if that's what you guys want. If you don't want it, if you think it's a waste of time, just tell me and I'll try to think of other creative FPL video ideas. But this is basically wrap up the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys for multiple videos coming up over the next 2 weeks. So hopefully you guys check those out and I'll see you there. But I'm going to be signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.